This video I want to cover why Suicide Squad as a franchise is so difficult to achieve success. I am positive this is going to make for an interesting topic considering all the backlash we've seen from the recent Suicide Squad video game, but breaking down the uphill battle this development studio decided to take, and also looking back at the other Suicide Squad videos and movies essentially, or even as a franchise whole. Franchises are quite difficult to achieve success, and we're going to break that down fully in this video, especially why Suicide Squad overall is so difficult to achieve success. So let's get into it. The negatives. We all know there's lots of negatives such as the gameplay and other problems, so I'm going to highlight some of them quickly here so we can kind of move on to the bigger subject at hand. Let's cover some of those downsides, such as, we understand the gameplay loop was not perfect and had a lot of problems because it is inherently a looter shooter. So, number one, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a live service single player game. This is in any way, shape, or form rough. It's like having a full feature film, but then having the ending to be continued and a television series, but with a poorly written ending that feels forced. This is what happened in this game and why it also feels very unfulfilling. Number two, cash grab of claiming to be a part of the Arkham universe. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this also as a cash grab for other franchises that claim to be part of a larger universe anybody really loves and enjoys. With most films claiming to be part of a larger universe, that core audience has an expectation of what to watch, play, or what they expect to digest whenever they're enjoying that said piece of content. I'll give a very extreme and dumb example, but it's like watching Star Wars and then all of a sudden you see a Western at play. But you could do this, but we're going to get into that when we call that artistic journey. And of course, calling anything canon can definitely not sit well for those that follow a story a little too closely. Number three, poorly written characters. You really have to know a character when it comes to a franchise. Knowing and understanding that material and its source material as a whole is very important. Not saying it has to, of course. You can always take your own creative liberties and freedoms, but I want to highlight why it's important that writers, movie directors, or any creative push the envelope of this entertainment to new heights, but also respect the source material. That's really hard to balance that out, and you're going to find the theme of this video is striking that balance. This is what the video is about, why it's such an uphill battle and why it can be so difficult. And maybe more or less what we need is just more new intellectual properties rather than just trying to take the piggyback of what a franchise currently is. So let's talk about that, where it's the artistic journey. Most directors and individuals want to be known for something creative and making their stamp in the industry, but there's a part where you're trying too much or doing too much. Also the opposite spectrum of just doing too little. In the case of the Justice League, we see so much occurring all at one time, and we want to set it into a specific universe, but that comes with feeling like you have the chains locked down on you and you can't do as many artistic things that you wish you could. But fans want nothing more to see what they once enjoyed, just not take a unique take on things. So we pose that question, where do you find the balance and how can you win over an audience? Well, that kind of goes into the next topic. And that's really character introduction, and you really have to excel in telling a story. Just like the first Suicide Squad movie, we're introduced to such a large cast of characters and told and also forced on why you should like them. Not necessarily falling in love with a character through their journey, but you're just forced to because we kind of have to get past that part to get into the story. This is a problem. Other characters like Batman, The Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman, or Green Lantern don't need as much of an introduction of why we should even love them because they're household names or they're a superhero and it kind of comes with the territory. So it's just like the first Suicide Squad, it suffers with just too much exposition, but also forcing why we like these characters rather than, instead of why, just giving us the reason to love the characters, which leads us to our next problem with the Suicide Squad franchise. Why like a villain? Villains are already inherently disliked due to the horrible things they have done, so how can they be redeemed? Most know these characters of the Suicide Squad for being horrible or just they are the villains of the usual main cast. This already poses a problem to most viewers to relate or want the individuals to commit such heinous acts. This does not mean we can't like or root for them. In cinematic history, we have those in which we do love, such as the Joker. It's the most easy one we can all relate to. It's opposite of Batman, but due to the chaotic nature of the Joker, it's just somebody we love to see in film. We want to look at first at the Suicide Squad or the game, and we see a problem of the audience immediately not wanting to like these individuals. And that can be really hard for this type of franchise, or any sort of franchise where, let's say like Star Wars, you introduce a new set of characters and you have to inherently like them, or you're told why to like them. In the second Suicide Squad, the introduction of the actors really helped with the likability of these characters, and how also the writers really wrote some redeeming ways to have them be interesting. Which, we get into some of the writing here. A Deus Ex Machina, probably one of the most frustrating things that anybody has to watch or deal with in movies. When you have bold approaches in writing, you tend to kill off, or you wall things off, or try to subvert expectations. These expectations, unfortunately, end up leading to only one option, where you're writing yourself into a wall where you can't get yourself out. So you have to take a cheap route in writing. Oh, it was a dream. Let's go back in time. It was not them all along. Multiverse, or much more. This unfortunately cheapens those stories or a character arc, because essentially reverts things back, kind of like what you see in standard television series, where you watch one episode and you go to the next episode, it's like nothing happened. Now, in modern storytelling, everybody can find all forms of media and kind of watch things in bulk, rather than saying, well, I saw this one episode and that's kind of a one-off piece that you'll never ever see again. I guess one of the more interesting ones would be, let's say, Cowboy Bebop, which I think is a more interesting take, where the story did reset, but still continued enough to give you a point A, B, and C, and give you a character arc to understand these characters. Now, unfortunately, in modern storytelling, writers are always trying to go bigger, but when the misstep occurs, you have no way to write yourself out without something going completely wrong. But when you write yourself something as canon, everyone is following the story so closely and able to track it better online than they ever have before, and that's where you struggle to write something and make something that essentially feels unique, especially when it comes to a franchise, and which comes full circle with struggling franchises. Now, this is why the video exists, is that the reality is that Justice League movies or video games are just going to be better received right out the gate, because you have a character that you're going to follow who you already like or can relate to. But Rocksteady decided to make a video game on Suicide Squad with already controversial takes and decisions in their video game, which is definitely an artistic decision, but not one if you're taking too many leaps of faith that could go over necessarily well, especially when you're trying to stick the landing on so many different things. You don't necessarily have to have the strongest package if look at all the most recent Marvel movies, making a lot of money, or having a film that just plays it safe, but rather than something that gamers and movie watchers essentially want to watch that has a nice character arc. There's so much that we can watch for heroes doing the same thing over and over and over again before we get bored of it. But also the other side, where you can't necessarily have them go off the rails and do something that is completely unrecognizable and then call it canon without having a nice solid foundation to build off of. I'm confident with Star Wars, superhero films, franchises, any franchise that you love, there is a line that you could always walk, or even with popular themes, how you can take something new but not ruin what it once was. That is a bigger question. Seems movies and gaming is struggling from 2023 to 2024 to truly solve and get right, which is franchises and making sure franchises succeed. But perhaps maybe the answer is just getting more unique IPs and just trusting that an audience will enjoy and love a new IP if we are provided the chance and given a new story. I look forward to looking back at this video in due time to see how various franchises that have been pushed and shoved down our throats continue to evolve, and maybe we'll get some rich stories that all viewers can watch in the cinema or perhaps enjoy in gaming. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.